Sheils of Noodlebake Records, who's a veteran of the music industry. He is an incredibly prolific artist. I'll have some links in the description. He's released a ton of music as producer and MC known as Scatterboxx, collaborated with many other musical projects, including his band Sidestep Complex. He's been an audio engineer, radio personality and DJ, concert promoter, and he runs Noodlebake Records, which is the label that I'm on. And I know I'm forgetting a bunch of stuff because you do so much. He's a wealth of knowledge and experience. Dan, thanks for joining me, man.
Yeah, pleasure to be here. That was quite the introduction. Thank you.
Thanks.
Humbling. I appreciate it.
Well, yeah, man. Let's just get into it, man. I mean, I know people are really kind of confused about where the music industry is right now. Snoop Dogg was just talking about Spotify and how no one's making any money and streaming and all that. So I mean, I think as an artist, it's really easy to just be kind of jaded and not know what to do.
Yeah.
So I just kind of wanted to pick your brain about that. What do you? I know it's a big question, but what do you think? What should artists be doing right now in 2024?
Great question. There are. It's a whole. This is a great conversation starter. Yeah, I think for artists nowadays, for musicians, we have to, if we don't consider ourselves artists and a brand, but artists, really, we more than musicians, we're going to fall behind.
Yeah.
I think based on the way technology is, I think based on the way the money is passed around in the industry, and all of these various just factors that are at play that are kind of pushing artists, small artists like us, right, back and kind of holding us, suppressing us in a way from getting our outreach. So I think thinking bigger, right?
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by becoming an artist. I think trying to push outside of what we kind of are familiar with as music, rather than having to create entire albums, which I love. You know me, that's how I've released a bunch of albums or concept albums. That's honestly what I grew up listening to and loving. But I think it was important and still remains important to adapt, right? People unfortunately aren't as into listening to a 45-minute experience sonically. What they want to do, I think, is experience something else in addition to it, right? So that's why I tell, as you know, all my artists that work with me and the record label, do more than just music. When you're releasing music, there should be a music video. There should be a visual element. There should be something unique about it, not just the music, but the campaign itself. As you know, we release skateboards with our records, I think that's fun. It's niche. We do a lot of, as you know, you paint. Your merch is literally your paintings. And I think that's the sort of thing I encourage, because unfortunately, kind of going back to Spotify, we're not going to make money, and that's just a fact. They're big artists. When you have Snoop Dogg talking about it, it's a problem.
Totally.
I don't get many streams, obviously, as you know. For the listeners and watchers, I'm very niche myself, and I like it that way. But I also, based on the amount of streams, the highest check, I'll just tell people, the highest check I've ever gotten from Spotify for all of my plays in a year, so this is an annual revenue, was $60.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. And so that, as you know, I really support artists. I like artists going into a platform such as Bandcamp, right? Because, they take a big chunk too, but they have the option of pay as you want, right? So fans, as you know, fans will support. Instead of paying $1, they'll pay 50 because they can.
They can. It's like they want to tip you. They want to show support. That's cool.
I've had people pay for a song more than I got, right, in that entire year of streaming from Spotify.
That's amazing. Amazing.
It is and it isn't. It's it says a lot about Spotify,
But At the same time, though, do you think it's important to be on Spotify and just at least have it out
Yeah.
there? So,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's it. That's a great question. Yes, I unfortunately slash fortunately do.
yeah,
I think that the reason that being said is don't look at it as a financial, income stream sort of thing. I don't understand why people are so like amped about trying to like get as many plays as possible. I guess I don't understand that because it doesn't correlate with fame. It doesn't correlate with how well you are, like what well known you are. It doesn't correlate with which is anything really.
yeah,
And because like it would be one thing if the amount of plays you got paid out, but it doesn't. So that's why I don't really understand the concept. Like there's millions of artists with millions of plays. So the concept of
mm,
millions of plays has been dulled down. It's normalized. It's not special at this point.
yeah,
So I think that either way, though, having the mentality of going into Spotify and saying, okay, I'm not going to make money with this, but there's a huge market here I listen to music on Spotify every day.
yeah,
I am a consumer of Spotify. I am. And it's because
yeah,
it's a very convenient method. But as you know, do I support artists who push their stuff through independent means? 100%.
yeah,
100% will I buy little artists like myself, and I will pay a couple extra bucks. I'm not wealthy, I'm not well off, but I think it's important for artists to support artists. I think it's important for artists to think bigger, create multiple experiences. As you know, I'm really pushing a lot at this point. We're making games, integrating music and sound into the games. We're doing everything we can to
yeah,
adapt to this very technological a time where a
yeah,
lot of the art jobs are being automated. So if we can expand our skill set, we have to adapt. We just have
yeah.
to adapt. We have to think bigger picture, and Spotify is not a financial means. you know
No, no, totally.
yeah.
So, I mean, you've talked to me before about how like you never know where somebody's gonna find you, right? So,
Yes.
so
Yeah.
it is important to just kind of cast a wide net. I mean, do you think you should be on every platform? You should be on Twitter, YouTube, like just everything, or just like find a few things that work for you, or like what are your thoughts on that?
I think it depends what sort of direction you're trying to take, also how social of a person you are. You obviously are much more adapt and into, Twitter
Right,
Twitch and TikTok and Instagram, but you're not on Facebook. I don't think it's
yeah,
important to be on Facebook. I don't think it's necessarily important to be on all of the social media platforms because they're not all not all markets are on all platforms. Like to be honest, like your market is not on is not on Facebook. So it doesn't
yeah.
make
I
doesn't
don't
make
think
sense to
so.
really not as much as it is on Twitter, right?
Yeah,
Like the community, that's another really cool part about Twitter, I think, is it's so much more communal than something like Facebook is.
yeah,
In Facebook, anytime you try to start a page, you have to pay for ads. It's crazy. Facebook doesn't really pay off either as far as having it. As far as the streaming is concerned, I think it's a good idea to be on SoundCloud, maybe. SoundCloud, like don't pay for pro. It's a dumb idea. It's
right.
honestly SoundCloud, if you want my opinion on SoundCloud, that's a different thing. I think of all of the streaming platforms, SoundCloud is the biggest scam out there. Like yeah,
Really? Really?
100%. But
Why do you say that?
a couple okay, so
I'm just
a couple
curious,
reasons.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, so a couple reasons, right? So people hate on Spotify. I've heard a lot of people, obviously, artists, and I get it, me too.
Yeah,
And I hear a lot of artists, indie artists like me, honestly, at times, kind of bitching
yeah,
about Bandcamp,
right,
right? And they take these big fees sometimes, and
right, right,
sometimes
right.
it's kind of like hidden, but SoundCloud is its own nature. Like, okay, so in order to make revenue off of your own music on SoundCloud, rather, you have to pay. You have to pay $10 a
Mm.
month or something. It might even be more to qualify for making revenue off of your own music.
And what are the chances you're even going to make that back?
Correct. Correct. The payout is about
Damn.
this. The payout is about the same as Spotify, except with
Wow.
Spotify, they don't make you pay $10.
No, no, yeah.
They don't
Wow.
make you. They don't make you pay. It's it's
Yeah.
it's crazy. I don't understand why people are so into that platform. But I do think, again, is it kind of worth like just putting your music on? Yes. Sign up for a free account. Don't be a sucker. Don't pay $10 a month to try to earn money off your own music. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
But put your music on there because there are people who are listening to different stuff. Who a lot of the people on SoundCloud, for instance, are looking for new underground music. It's not the sort of thing you look for mainstream, I don't think. So it is kind of a good idea to have it on there. Again, like it's just they're each different platform has its own market. So like, is it a good idea to get onto Pandora? Yes. Is it a good idea to get, these streamers are there. Some people listen on Amazon, some people listen on Tidal. That's why, a label is a good idea. That's why even an online distributor like TuneCore or something like that's not a bad idea. TuneCore, it's kind of, again, you pay $50 or something like that per year. So that is a whole thing as well. Like you have to pay to make music or make money off your album. But I mean, that's just the only way you can even get your stuff on Spotify to begin with. So that's kind of different, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah,
All right.
I don't know.
Well, one question I wanted to ask you about your label. Like I've seen a lot of like indie labels or local labels or hipster labels or whatever, and everyone, it's funny. Like you see the artist roster, and they all kind of sound the same. They all look the same. They'll have like the same haircut even. And looking at your roster, it's completely different. Like every artist on there is so like wildly different and
Yeah.
in a really cool, interesting way. But at the same time, they like fit in the same universe. It's like you got the Marvel universe and you got the Noodlebake universe. You
uh,
know. So
yeah,
I wanted. I mean, is that intentional or did it just kind of
100%.
happen? Yeah.
100,000,000%. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that there's so much amazing music. And I am really blessed and really fortunate to have worked with a lot of really cool, really talented people in my time in Springfield, Mass, and doing the circuit in Connecticut as well. And in Boston, of course, which is where most of my music really and connections happened and occurred, I
Yeah.
guess you could say. It's where it all like started whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm really blessed to know all of these people. And based on my time in Boston, I would say especially, we met so many cool like people who made this really niche music that you would only find at like on these crazy rooftop parties and Central Square, and with
Yeah.
like weird audio visual shows happening. And you meet these people, and these people are awesome people, and they make
Yeah.
amazing music. But it's music that's not for everyone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it might
That's
not be, yeah, it might not be as accessible to a label.
yeah.
I don't necessarily make super like accessible music myself,
Yeah.
but
Me too, man. Yeah.
yeah, but fortunately, Jeep Halo, shout out to Jeep, who really has made the connection and made Noodlebake possible, because I'm me, like Scatterboxx and Liz and Sidestep Complex are on, Four Finger distro, and Noodlebake is more or less a sub label of that, and he's awesome and trusts my judgment. And so I take some of my closest friends, who I
Yeah.
think are awesome, who work their asses off in music, and just I trust and I love, and I try to give you guys some opportunities, some of the benefits that I get from a label, which is
Yeah.
some added help with distribution and the nine. But I think, yeah, it's like a perfect example is like, like, God damn it, do I love, uh Danny, Diamond Machine, right? Like his
Yeah.
music
Yeah.
is, I think, some of the coolest.
Very
Chip
cool chip tune.
chip
Yeah.
tune. It's
Yeah.
played. So shout outs to him. Like he plays music and makes music with his Game Boy, like plural Game Boys too. He does these insane audio visual shows. He's in Cambridge, Mass. He's usually doing shows like he's amazing. So shout out to
Yeah.
him. I
Yeah.
would It's niche. Not everyone wants to listen to Game Boy made music. I'm into it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're
Me
into
too.
it.
Yeah.
A lot of our friends are into it.
Yeah.
Are, you know, I don't know, like, are some of my, you know, 9 to 5 friends like who like Taylor Swift more? I don't know. They might not like,
Yeah.
you know, they also might
Yeah.
not like mine.
Right.
But I see a lot of love and I see a lot of faith and I see just a lot of talent. Like in like what he does is fucking awesome, man. Like, and it takes so much talent. He's got these crazy compositions that they're doing. It's like nuts, you know? So I guess, I don't know, like I got nothing for love for these different niche artists
Yeah.
who think big, who
Yeah.
think bigger than others. And I don't know. I try to provide
Well,
whatever
and
benefits I get, you know?
totally. And I was just gonna ask you like what you look for in signing a new artist, and I mean, it sounds like that's kind of what it is, huh?
Yeah, honestly, like a pure identity. As you know, I think another, you know, one thing I try to pride myself on is it is an artist run label, right? Like I know that probably that phrase is out there so much, but like as you know, like this isn't like really a lucrative thing for me. What it is
Sure.
me trying to see opportunities for people who make something super unique.
Yeah.
And those people who make super unique music, who are the true visionaries, uh, they're not pop, unfortunately. They don't sell, right?
Hmm.
But they deserve at least some people to listen to them. And so I don't know, the more like prolific, we'll say, the more big picture you think, the more different you are. Like that's what I want to hear. That and the more like self-expressive. Like I don't, as you know, like I have basically a few rules for the music that my artists make. One, no hate, no bigotry, you know, no prejudice, basically no bullshit, right? Like no bullshit content, right? None of
Yeah.
that. I don't want any of that. No,
Sure.
no hate, no, none of that, right? But otherwise, I want expression. I don't go in, as you know, I'm not like, "Hey, can you change this about your record?" Like record
Hmm.
labels do that. I think a lot of people don't realize that, but when you sign a contract with a major label, they're telling you like on, you know, you have to have a song on the album that says this phrase. You have to have a single on the album that follows this exact structure, that's this exact chord length, that has again words like party,
Oh
uh,
God.
love, dance all night. These are phrases literally that that there's you sign into saying.
That
Like
sounds like that's like some Illuminati shit or
it's
something, you
fucked up,
know?
right?
Yeah.
These are things that actually exist, right? And so,
Yeah.
but it's part of the formula because the labels know that people love to party all night,
I get it. Yeah. Yeah.
and, and so it works. It
Yeah.
works, right? But that's obviously not my thing. I want people to be different. I don't twist anything. I don't. If they hand me a fucking weird ass project and they're like, "Yo, this is what I'm feeling right now," then I'm like, "All right, let's do it." Man. Like,
Absolutely, man.
uh,
Yeah, I mean, just to say, like being a part of Noodlebake has been huge for me, and I mean, it's been
hear
awesome
that.
to like just be a part of the whole like journey of like every everything. You know, what I tell people is like being on a label is a partnership.
Yeah.
It's I think some artists might think that like you get on a label and then they're gonna do all this shit for me, and then
No.
I'm gonna be. It's like no, like you gotta do the
No.
work. Yeah, like you gotta do
Yeah.
the work together. I mean, you got to do the work, and the label does what they do, but you guys, it's a partnership. You guys work
Yeah.
together. You know.
Yeah, exactly. I think, and a big distinction, that's a big distinction between an indie label like us and a
Right.
major label is,
Right.
to clear up some stuff. Like nowadays, the industry, most artists have to sign 360 deals, which are
Mm.
basically you're signing your brand, right? So it's a split 50-50 product with all of your merchandise, all of your show tickets, all of your CD sales. It's basically a 50-50 agreement in literally your brand, right? As a human being or as a band or as an artist, whatever it might be. And those deals, the label at
Mm.
their thing is they fund it. right? They give you a stipend. Actually, it's technically what happens. They give you $100,000 or whatever to make an album, right? Here's $100,000, make an album that has this stuff, these words, and follows these song, formula basically, and we will pay for that. And then what we want is 50% of everything from there.
And I'll just say it's not even $100,000 anymore.
No, it's probably no. Yeah, it's probably not. Yeah.
I was talking to somebody in like a pretty bigger metal band actually, and they were like, dude, they gave us 10 grand, and they're just like, here, go have your buddy record it, or like whatever the hell you guys do. Because they're doing they're recording all their guitars like direct.
Yeah.
Like at home, so it's like they don't need to be in the studio for months on end.
But even then, like, it's what sucks though, like, right, the stipend, at least in the past, helped cover living. You could live for a little bit of time, like 6 months, I think, or something like that. It might not have been $100,000. The number I'm throwing out is,
I'm sure at one time it was.
It was probably. Yeah. In fact, that the 360 deals became a thing, I think, like 15, 20, I don't know, years ago. Maybe it was around the same time as Napster. I forget exactly why they transitioned into those, or when rather. But mainly what they realized is, if the artist is selling the CDs, and CDs aren't making a ton of money, the labels aren't making a ton of money, but the smart artists had branded themselves, and the labels had nothing that they could necessarily profit off of with that. So they've adjusted the contracts, that it's a 360 deal. It's a little bit different. And those will pump you out. I got very sidetracked, but independent, labels like Noodlebake or bigger ones have more of a budget. But as you know, Noodlebake works on very low budget. So what I offer, instead of being able to, press the CDs, instead of being able to like front money for a recording or whatever, what have you, this is where the partnership comes in. Like you were saying, like, right. Like I try to give you the tools that I can, like I try to give you the know-how, the resources, as far as like the connections that I have, just like what I know kind of works for it, what I know doesn't work for it, where to spend your money if you plan on spending your money, where not to spend your money, like don't spend money on Facebook advertisement, things like that. Like these are little, it's, as I try to meet with my artists every couple weeks, every week, sometimes every month. It's pretty sporadic, but basically what I try to offer, and I think what a lot of other labels try to offer, is they can get you digital distribution, right? Like I can get you that. I can get people like connected to certain press. I can help with the outreach, things like that. But it is, again, it's a partnership. It really is. Like I put all of the tools, all of the just know-how that I kind of can in your hands, and at that point try to help you set sail. But it is, you got to put the work in. But I do know, but you know that, and you are a perfect example of like, you put the work in, you built your Twitter, you built your Twitch, you built your this community, this following that is able to, it's so niche, it's so cool. And like this sort of thing, I don't think what you do would really, unfortunately, I think it's bullshit, but wouldn't probably be possible on a major record label. They would say to you, you got to cut this out of your music. You got to write this into your music. You got to change this about your image. You got to, like, instead of doing this podcast, you got to do this. And I don't know, I like expressionism, being yourself, like that. I think in a lot of the indie labels, not just me, I think a lot of cool indie labels are out there really trying to just become more of a collective. There's someone fortunate like myself who has a couple extra connections who can help my friends.
Well, and thank you for saying that. I appreciate that.
The honest
but
truth,
let me ask you, I mean, what are some mistakes that you see artists making?
spending their money in the wrong places, putting too much time into promoting the wrong
Hmm.
links, right?
Okay.
Okay, so like we talked about Spotify and SoundCloud before. It's a big mistake. I mean, I made these things, right? Like I made that is one thing you can trust from me with the advice I give is don't spend the money that I spent incorrectly, right? Like I have wasted money on Facebook advertising unless you have a huge budget
Yeah.
and know your exact market and their exact schedule. Like it is a waste of money. You might get some clicks, you might get some purchases, but really, the only way to even do that is by spending hundreds, if not thousands really, of dollars on Facebook advertising alone. There's
Yeah.
no point for an artist when you can spend that money elsewhere. And it just gets so much more bang for your buck anywhere else, like Subway ads. You get like, what am I thinking? Sorry, more visibility rather, and
Yeah.
just more exposure.
How much does
Uh,
that cost?
I think it's, I think it's like $500 for like a week.
That's actually not bad.
It's a deal. It's a deal.
That's really good. Yeah, maybe that's
It's
worth it.
it's a deal. That's what
Yeah.
I'm fucking saying. Compared to
Dude, I thought you were gonna say way higher than that, dude.
well, like the big ones, the nice ones, but like right, like I was actually looking this up recently because I
Oh,
thought
okay.
I was on this the New York subway and I was like, damn, like people see like I know all about SeaWorld's water like family discount now,
All right.
from like sitting in front of the sign that's there for like an hour or so. By the way, like I'm looking at my phone and I'm like, I wonder how much this shit costs. And it was like for like the cheap ones, right? Like it's $500 for like a week. But think about that, right? Like way more people are gonna see that ad, and instead of scrolling down, they're on their phone looking at it. I
Yeah.
mean, to me, I was just like, Anyways,
Okay, so I like that idea. First of
yes,
all, I like that idea, but I'm also a big fan of like guerrilla marketing. So like,
yes,
I would
yes,
take that idea and
yes,
run with it.
100%.
So rather than spend $500, I would spend way less on
Yep,
some little flyers I
yep,
get on the subway, and just I see them all the time.
yes,
People just put little flyers up,
yes.
and there you go.
That is really the core of it. As you know, I've told you this before. I think that's the main way to get like as an indie artist, it's really the don't spend money on social media marketing. Don't spend money on pro accounts on SoundCloud or like it there's really no benefit.
Yeah,
And you have so much we have so much to do as artists and musicians if we want to make money. So we really can't waste time. We really can't waste energy. And I think, as you know, the number one way to get listeners and to get, let's say, sales is by outreach, is by guerrilla marketing, is by
yeah,
messaging your friends. And instead of saying, hey, I've got a new album out, it's saying, hey, how you doing? Checking in, having a real conversation. That person probably knows you make music.
yeah.
And they'll probably be like, hey, how's the music? And you drop it there,
I
things
like
like
that.
that.
I like
And
that.
being clever, like you're saying, like throwing flyers like all over a very public place. People will see it,
Yeah,
like it's inevitable that way that people will see it, talking about your music non-aggressively. Not everyone wants to hear about it. Plant seeds accordingly,
mm,
know your art audience. um but yeah, it's like a matter of where you spend your time and money. I really think thinking outside of the box, that goes back to like really unique merch. Like, yeah, cool. T-shirts and
I,
hoodies, great, but they're everywhere. Like
yeah,
you're competing with so many things. It's not
yeah.
necessarily going to help. But if you make paintings, or if you make puzzles, or if you make socks like we sell,
Yeah, yeah.
and you try to think a little bit outside of the box and push that sort of thing, it helps. Yeah.
I was just gonna ask you about merch because I mean I see some artists do this and I think it's kind of a mistake sometimes where they'll actually go and buy like a really nice run of like silk screen printed
Yeah.
stuff and like it's pretty and it's high quality but it's expensive expensive, you know,
Yeah.
and you got a huge box of this shit you gotta
Yeah.
sell.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that? Yeah.
That's a great question. You know, as you know, we're big fans at Noodlebake of on demand shipping. Basically,
Okay.
we don't have a big budget for artists who are on a low budget. I think embracing the internet is a great idea. Like there's drop shipping, which for those unfamiliar, just basically allows you to set up, here's my logo, here's my whatever design that I want to put in a t-shirt, link it to a company, I think like Printify, and there's a few others, as you know. You put these things and you have to put in some work, set up a store and stuff like that. But before you know it, you have at least the ability to sell your clothing, and you can choose what type of stuff you sell it on. And you don't have to spend that money up front.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot less profit, like it's a low profit. So if you were trying to make money off of those, like as like a means, you have to put a lot of work into like promoting it. But it's like if you're not doing a full-fledged like t-shirt marketing campaign, but you want to have some t-shirts available, it's a great idea to use something like that, because then it also allows you to like order a t-shirt for yourself, that like
I was just gonna say, and that
I've done that.
my technical difficulties here. If I'm gonna play a show, I could buy 5 shirts just to have some shirts to
Yes,
sell. Yeah.
exactly. So I think it depends on your budget, right? Like it's expensive. That's the thing about it. It's expensive, but it's also nothing up front. So for us, that's big. It's very advantageous to us. And I think that artists working on a low budget embrace this, do that. Like why, like you say, why spend the money upfront if you can't guarantee you'll sell it? And that might mean that you end up in the hole. And if you end up in the hole, that it doesn't necessarily defeat the purpose, but I don't know, like if you're like trying to get on a label, the whole nine, like then you're trying to make money off music, right? Like that's part of what you're trying to do, is make money off music. And so the idea would be at that point, put your focus in the right place. And so t-shirts are in clothing. It's a tough call, if you're trying to make money off of it and you're willing to put in love to a t-shirt campaign and you have a little money, maybe order, and that way you can flip them and make a lot more money. Instead of making like $4 off a sale, you're making like 15. That's right. It's good. It's better that way, but you have to find somewhere that'll print it like a small batch. Some local printers, that's sometimes something I tell people as well, instead of like looking online, like local printing agencies and stuff, they still exist and they still actually do a pretty good job, and they still charge a lot less.
Yeah.
So,
But I guess, like, back to what you're saying, I mean, I think when you do that, you got to think about how you're going to sell these things. Like, if you're going on tour and you're playing a bunch of shows, okay, sure. But, like, if you don't have, like, how you're going to move them as part of the business plan, then it's, like, totally not worth it.
Exactly. And that goes back to planning. I mean, like, what is the campaign plan, right? Like, what are you trying to promote? Whether it's the music itself or a t-shirt itself, I mean, there are different things that move with different audiences, and it doesn't have to be, I mean, music doesn't make money, as you know, really anymore anyways. So like, if you want to put the effort into selling the t-shirt, it might be worth it.
Interesting.
But again, there's just like, I think t-shirts at this point aren't necessarily, this is for me, this is an arbitrary like example. I think something more unique would be worth, like, if you're really trying to promote something and sell it and make money off of it, and you're willing to put in the work to that direct product, that one you don't rely on demand, like make that. If it's a background thing, if it's just a little potential passive income, a little potential, marketing, give people the opportunity. I think that's a good part about on demand too, is like, it gives people the option, like, but I don't know.
Well,
Tough.
So yeah, I want to switch gears here and ask you something because you're somebody who has put out a tremendous amount of music over the past however many years, in many different projects and your own stuff. So I'm wondering if you have any tips for finishing stuff because I know as artists, we, as artists, we have maybe
Oh
hard
my
drives,
God.
just like hard
Yeah.
drives full of unfinished stuff, you know.
Yeah. I know. Yes.
Um, so like, what? How do you do it, man? How do you? What do you do?
This hard drive. I'm like, look, I was just like, hard drives. I got hard drives. I got more hard
Yeah,
drives over here, and like half of it's not done. It's a real struggle.
yeah,
I empathize with every artist. Because I obviously, I mean, I don't know an exact answer. I think
yeah,
when you find yourself sitting on something and kind of like unable to do anything or think of something after a while, then like it's probably meant to be. It's probably
interesting.
meant to be let go. And whether or
Yeah,
not it's gonna be a full-fledged release or just like a B-side, um, as you know, I do encourage my artists to release their stuff, like whatever it is, like release it.
yeah,
There's because otherwise it's going to collect, as I say, digital dust.
yeah,
You know, it's just going to sit on this archive, this thing that no one's going to hear, and that's
yeah,
a shame. That's a shame because it's your art. It's something that you spend a lot of time working on. It's something you like.
yeah. I
You might not.
also,
Yeah,
oh,
sorry.
sorry. I also think that if you let it sit too long, like we as artists, we grow and evolve and stuff. And
Mhm.
you know, if you're at another point in like your artistic
Yeah,
endeavors,
yeah. It's
and
hard.
that doesn't fit, yeah, like you're gonna look back on that and be like, I can't release this because it's just not even like what
Yeah.
I'm doing anymore, you know?
Yeah, this is and that exact same thing has happened to me. Like I mean, I still right now I have like 10 albums in the works, right?
Oh my God.
Like there's like, Stardust, which is Sidestep Complex. Like that's been in the works since 2010.
Wow.
Yeah. There's Destroy All Evil, which has been in the works since 2000, probably 13. Um, Fun Shock Value has been in the works since probably 2016 or 17.
Wow. See,
Um,
that's interesting, man, because I thought you were just cranking these things out, you know?
some of them, yes, some of them, no. I mean, I have another 1,000 songs that have never seen the light of day.
Will they ever, do you think?
Yes, I try. I try at this point, and I'm trying everything I can to like let go.
Yeah.
I'm pretty. I sent you a new track the other day. That's actually
Yeah.
something uh, I made, and I realized, okay, I have a couple other songs kind of in this vibe that I never released, and so that's kind of a lot of the ways that I end up releasing something. Anyways, is like if I have something that like doesn't feel fully done necessarily, but I have kind of like a couple other that are like along that same vibe that I also never released. That I think is a good package, right?
Yeah.
I think that like maybe those three songs have something similar. They have a vibe and they're pretty cool. They're not like masterpieces. I didn't go and spend as much time in them as I might have in another song, but they have a vibe and people listen to it. As you know, like as an artist, like most of my favorite songs that I've made are not people's favorite songs. And my least favorite songs are people's favorite songs.
That
You know?
happens. Yeah, that happens to me too.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so weird. Yeah.
So the amount of work that you put in, unfortunately, is just not something that matters to the listener.
Yeah.
Like there are songs that are like Disco Stick is one bar that beat, and it's a great beat. It's one of my
Yeah.
favorite beats to this day that I've made. I hate that song, but I love the beat.
And
And
that's one that everybody loves.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's like one of my favorite songs I've ever produced is from 2015. Is In It Now, which is from Mushy House Party, and it has Liz on it. And I mean, like, there's like, if you look at the session, right? It's like it's Logic rewired with Reason. This is back when Rewire was the thing. So it was like Logic rewired with like Reason 4 or something. But there's like 40 channels, like with drum machines and samplers and everything in Reason, and then like you know, all channeled individually into like Logic, which has like another 60 tracks or something. So there's like 120 parts that are like
Yeah.
at play in something.
That's a
The
lot.
amount of work that went into it is astonishing. And like no one gives a shit about that song.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so finish doesn't have to do with how much work you put in. It just
Interesting.
doesn't.
Yeah.
It also, I think some songs like they're hidden finished, you know, like I say, like you always kind of want to get back to them, but you
Yeah.
don't, but they're good enough for to share. Like that's the thing for artists, we're more critical of our stuff than other people are a lot of the time. That's not always true, but a lot of the time it is. And so sometimes it is worth sharing. And if you're not sure, find someone you trust and be like, yo, what do you think of this song? Real talk.
Yeah.
And if they're like, this is really cool, then be like, okay, do you think it's worth sharing with other people? And if they're like, yeah, then it's just like, fuck it. Then share it with people because otherwise it's kind of a waste. Why did you spend the time? Why did you? I mean, I get it. Like you're better in your craft, you're self-expressing, but it's people might want to hear it, you know, like
Yeah.
it's your calling. I think musicians, like they have a calling in life and not everything necessarily is meant to be shared, but I think a lot of it is, you know, if you make it.
I believe that too.
Yeah. Um,
Let me ask
oh,
you this. So, I mean, we talked about finishing. Do you have a system for starting a song? Like when you sit down, do you say like, all right, I'm going to start with the drums, and then I'm going to write
I
some
always
lyrics?
start with the drums.
Yeah,
You always.
I thought so.
Yeah, me personally. I usually start with the drums. I work instrument by instrument
Okay.
personally. I know a lot of people who go into making music every time already having a vision, which is unbelievable. It blows my mind. It
Yeah,
blows my
yeah,
mind, right? It blows my mind. So, but that exists. Like that talent. I don't find myself of that caliber of talent. What I do like to do is have fun with music.
yeah,
I think making music's awesome. So a lot of the time I'm in the mood to make music, but I don't know where to begin.
right.
So I will load up a drum kit and find whatever one is kind of like vibing with me. And then I'll like start with like a kick and a snare. And then I'll sometimes add a hi-hat, but usually it's like the kick, snare, or kick clap, not always, you know what I mean? Like a rhythm. And then from then on, I kind of just build the song. I'll add like a bass line or a little like synth hit, you know, a lot of vocal shouts. I love vocal shouts, you know, and start to just really do some of the minor stuff, I guess, to just kind of build like a vibe. And then
Yeah,
from there, when I feel like, okay, this is dope, then I'll build it. Like I'll start that 4 bars or that 8 bars. I'll flesh it out. I'll say, okay, like let's do this for the verse. It'll have this part. It'll lower this part. You know, I'll add reverb to the clap at this part. For the hook, I'll just add a simple hi-hat, you know, kind of figure out like what works where. Not every song has that format, as you know, but if it does, you know, I'm building it as I go. Kind of a lot of the time, like my final step is like the production, which I would say is like the effects, you know, adding beat drops and you know the nine. So I come up with the idea, the mood, and then I create some sort of skeleton, a more fleshed out skeleton, and then I try to go in and just enhance it bit by bit. And I think going back to like when it's finished, it can be hard. I can feel like, oh, I have so much more I feel like doing. I think it needs this. I think it needs this. Um, Sometimes the drive is there to do it.
yeah,
Sometimes it isn't. And I like to say, you know, if the drive isn't there to do it and it's still there to, or still isn't there to do it 2 years later, but it's a good vibe, you know, it's done. Just it's done. Let
yeah,
it go. Cause like you say, you're on to a new phase altogether. That's part of the struggle with these albums that I haven't quite released is because as you know, I write and I
yeah,
have very high standards for my writing. Like that's
yeah,
my biggest thing is my writing standards are through the roof. And
yeah,
prevents me from the thousands of whatever or hundreds of songs I've written that were good at the time, but I try to better myself every time I write. So a year ago, I read that stuff, right? And I'm like, this isn't good. You know, like I got to rewrite this. I got to rewrite this. And so it's like you say, if I don't release it, It just sits there.
So
I'm guilty of this myself. I'm
yeah,
so
yeah.
guilty of this myself. Yeah.
So when you're working on a song as a lyricist, at what point do the lyrics come? I mean, are they coming in your head as you're working, or like do you wait until the end and then start writing like when you're in the vibe, or how's that work?
Oh man, that's tough. Like usually if it's a vibe, like a real vibe, I'm like, this is something I need to write to.
Yeah,
It kind of a beat calls me. A beat will like say, like, okay, this has a vibe, this has a flow to it. Like that's usually in my head what comes first with writing. If there's like a feel to the beat, right? You can kind of figure out like, okay, this would be the topical stuff. This would be the direction I'm going with the content. But really, like if I'm making a beat and in my brain I'm kind of coming up with this like cool cadence, this cool flow, and it's really easy for me to just like get in the pocket mentally, then I'm like, okay, I got to write to this because it's got a
awesome.
nice bounce, because it's got like a nice whatever. Excuse me. It's I just think there's a certain calling, and
Yeah,
writing though to me comes after a beat. And then I would say like if like the writing, right? Like I make the beat, I write it, and then I produce it. I would say with something like that because I added the sound effects, right? Like if you listen to Hypomanic Carnival, it's littered with all of these sound effects that correlate with the lyrics that are happening at the given time, right? Like there's
yeah,
spray paint cans when I mentioned spray paint, or there's coughing sound effects when there's coughing, right? Like I would call that part of the production that happens after I write.
that's
But
cool.
but
Almost
the
like a sound design ad lib kind of thing.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
cool.
So like the things like a lot of my writing involves imagery as well. So that's part of why I think like those sound effects can work. But like after. But I guess when I writing takes a long time for me. Writing is a
Yeah,
lot more difficult because my standards are just so through the roof. Like my
I
writing is very
understand.
complex. There needs to be like it can't be dumb. The content isn't, as you know, it's not misogynistic, it's not homophobic, it's not prejudiced, it's not violent, it's not about money. I avoid the content that most hip hop has. Not all hip hop, a lot of the underground obviously has really great content, and I
Yeah,
try to follow that. But I like the technique of someone like Eminem, and like again, not his content, but his, I mean, he really is, technically speaking, like the greatest writer currently, at least in hip hop. Like his
yeah,
technique is so through the roof, and I love technique. I just love like I love Nas at the same time for his imagery. So I set these very high standards. Like it needs to be it needs to be educated, intellectual. It needs to be complex. The rhyme schemes need to be like through the roof. The vocabulary needs to be different. It can't be typical. Uh,
yeah.
so that takes me a long time. That takes me like a long time. And that's why a lot of the raps don't get released, is because I'll make it like 15 or 16 bars in, or 15 bars in, and I can't finish that last line. I literally can't finish it.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
It's all right.
Just remembered I was going to change gears here.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, just to say again, guys, definitely check out Scatterboxx and check out Sidestep Complex. It's some really cool music. Lyrically, some of the best stuff you'll ever hear. So do yourself a favor.
I don't know about that, but thank you.
I gotta talk it up a little.
Yeah, thank you. I would say check out Sidestep Complex more than just me. So Sidestep Complex is really what's up. It's my wife and I, Liz, and she fucking rocks. And she
Yeah,
plays violin, and we do some kick-ass stuff. You know this, but for the viewers, you don't yet necessarily, and now you do.
yeah.
Check out
So,
Sidestep before Scatterboxx.
uh,
Personally.
all right. So we're gonna change gears. We're gonna go into a segment that I like to call
Questions from the internet.
So yeah, these are questions from the internet. They're submitted on Reddit and Flip. And some of these questions we might have already answered. We talked about a lot of good stuff. So let's see here. First question: in the age of singles and music streaming, does recording a full album serve a purpose anymore? Why not record 2 to 4 songs at a time?
Why not? I don't know. I think it's a better idea too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, I mean, I think there's no rules anymore, right? I
No,
mean,
there are no rules. There's no
because
rules to
yeah,
like what. Yeah, there used to be rules to even like release days. Like things used to be released on Tuesdays, and right,
yeah,
I think if I remember correctly, and like
yeah, yeah,
Fridays were singles. There was
yeah,
like a
yeah,
real
yeah, yeah.
structure,
And
you know.
a demo was 3 songs, an EP was 5, and an album was I don't know, but yeah,
Even a single usually had a B-side. That's what a B-side was the opposite end of a record originally.
right,
You know,
right,
was
yeah,
this other song that wouldn't necessarily make the cut of the entire album, but had some potential. You know, it's kind of these songs we're talking about right now, these B-sides, you could
yeah,
call them. Yeah, it has changed. So no, I don't think like to expand on exactly what we've been talking about. Like I really do think that that's the way to go is 2 to 4 songs or
yeah,
1 even.
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
albums are very fun to make, you know? If you really are just making the art and the music for yourself, which is totally fine, making albums I think is more fun, you know?
Totally, totally.
Yeah,
But at the same time, an album can take a long time, and then
a lot.
again, but by the time you get, I've seen it happen where by the time the album comes out, the freaking band broke up. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I don't know how that
Yeah.
happens, but it
Yeah.
happens. You know.
I think albums are a better idea for solo musicians who are just
Yeah,
looking for, I guess like if you're willing to accept the fact that you won't get many plays or as many plays as you would have 10 years ago, making albums is really fun. It really is.
yeah,
Like working on a concept and like having transitions or something like that. I find a lot of joy myself in making an album. So if you purely are making music for fun, which like I say is totally cool in my opinion, I think it's awesome,
yeah.
make an album. If you're looking for
Oh yeah,
exposure, 2 to 4 songs is a good idea.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Next question. What do you know now that you wish you had known when you first started your label?
That's a really good question. Wow, a lot,
Yeah,
where I put my energy at first, I didn't know nearly enough. I knew what I knew about labels was from being on a small indie label myself, and I
mm,
had a vision where I wanted to, and still want to, and still continue to try to support my friends and give them more of an outlet than they otherwise may have another niche unique artists who have a big vision who are different rather um and I guess like I don't know, I mean I still enjoy this direction. I'm not like is in full, is Noodlebake like crushing it financially? No, but like
huh,
was that even ever part of it for me? Not really. I mean, I kind of just, like you say, I kind of just from releasing a bunch of albums on and off labels, I know how the money works. I know that there isn't any real money in being an independent artist when just over these years I've created, spreadsheets with, contacts and connects, and that was part of the core of why Noodlebake started. It was like I have all this know-how. I have no time though.
right,
And what I can do is instead of trying to put all this effort into my own music, I can use this know-how, this knowledge to try to help others
yeah,
pass these documents along, pass these connections along. Because I literally don't have all the time to do it. But it would be
yeah,
a shame. It would be a shame that these connections, that these resources go to waste. Just as it would be a shame to have the music on my hard drive go to waste.
yeah,
Did I think there was going to be a little more money? Yeah. Uh, um,
yeah.
so would I have played like certain financial decisions differently? Yeah, probably.
Interesting, yeah,
Yeah, I probably would have, you know, like I said, like this whole concept, this vision, right, of like helping artists who wouldn't otherwise sell. Like, what am I expecting? They're not, necessarily.
yeah.
You know?
You know, it's interesting you say that because well, I feel like as an artist, there's like a balance where, you know, sometimes you want to just go all in and you don't care if you're broke and it's all about the art. And then there's the other side of like playing it safe and keeping your day job and
Right.
doing the music on the
Right.
side. But then it's like, but if you do the music on the side, is it gonna be enough? And
Hard.
yeah,
It's hard. I mean, we all have to eat.
right,
A lot of people don't realize that probably that are tuned in who aren't musicians. How it works is basically, like even these big artists, right? Like at first, at least, unless they really, really, really make it, like they're still working jobs.
yeah,
There's still at, like they're still waiting tables. They're still bartending. They just don't, like, the fans don't realize it. Like, think about it, like, right, they're given $10,000 to make an album. They're not given money to fucking sleep and eat and etc. Like, these people are
yeah.
still just like you and I.
Yeah, yeah. They still got rent. They still got a mortgage. They still got bills.
They still got
Yeah,
everything. Like, if
yeah,
you want to be a musician, if you want to be an artist and you want to express yourself, um it's hard. It's very easy to be jaded. Honestly, the only way you're going to make money is by busting your ass and thinking big.
yeah,
Is by like combining art forms, thinking art exhibits, thinking big.
yeah,
You need to make a splash. You need to make an impact, because otherwise you're being drowned out by this very formulaic bullshit. So you have
yeah,
to, like, blow people's minds.
yeah,
Literally, it's like you go, all in or not. But if you
yeah,
want to make if you want to make your weird art, I think if you want to, like, make money, you can't technically just follow the formula.
yeah.
It's like, if you do it well, you can follow the formula, sign to a decent label that has money, and they can get you going. Um, will you be broke? Will you make money? No. Well,
Right.
I don't know. It's all a cycle.
All right. Well, next question.
Sorry.
No, dude, that was perfect. That was amazing. That's honestly like so insightful. I really appreciate it. How do I get my music heard by other people? Feels like trying to get in the NBA sometimes.
Yeah, it is. That is so tough. Um, Being organic with it, I think, is, like, really important. It's helpful when you make your music, right, rather than someone else's. You know what I mean? Like, if goes
Yeah,
back to the self-expression, I think that it's hardest to sell your most honest work. But I do think, for the most part, people's best work is their most honest.
yeah,
Um, I mean, you have some really, 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 really classic recordings that are rough, that aren't necessarily, like, by definition, good songs or good songwriting, but
mm,
they're raw and honest enough for everyone to love it. And so if you make your own really, like, real music, put it in the hands of people you love, people you like. You don't necessarily have to try to get everyone to listen to it, but if you get the right people to listen to it who really enjoy it, and like I say, like, if it's honest, if it's not cheesy, if it's not formulaic, if it's different enough, that person or those people that you play it for, they either will spread the love,
yeah,
or they'll give you the boost in confidence you need to spread it for a little further, to say, not just like, this is in my small network, let me share it with a few more people. The more people you share it with, the more comfortable you'll get talking about your music, talking about kind of pitching yourself. What I tell everyone is, you're pissing in the wind with social media. Like, honestly, it's not like, social media is great for a community. That's what it's for. You're not going to necessarily get sales through social media. You're going to get people who are interested in it, and then you get friends. You, like, literally become
right, right.
friends with these
Yeah, totally.
people, and
Yeah,
that's cool. Like, because friends support friends. Like, that's how it
yeah,
is. So I
yeah,
think, and if you're posting on social media, it's the equivalent of performing backwards to the audience, right?
mm,
You don't even know if there's a crowd behind you. There might be, It might be a bunch of people who have no interest in what you do. It might be a bunch of people who do have a bunch of interest in what you do. Or it literally might be no one. That's what posting on social media is.
Yeah.
You've no idea. You have no idea who's watching, who's listening, if anyone's listening. It just, so that's not the direction to get people to listen to your music. To get people to listen to your music is direct outreach. And if you're small and this is your first sort of thing, like, start by playing it for someone you love and someone you trust, and just, you know, getting their feedback. And if they're rough about their feedback, then yo, they love you. It's probably good. It's probably means like, yo, that maybe take it back and maybe polish it up, play it for them again, see what they think. And if they're like, this is really good, this is much better, that, like I said, like, it might give you the boost in feedback or boost in confidence you need to just kind of go and share it with a couple more people. And I think that the more times you hear, like, you know, this, you know, the more times you hear like, yo, this is dope, this is cool, I love this, it feels great, and it makes you want to play it for other people. So I think, yeah, that's the kind of, it's just kind of like, it's, you have to start small, really. Don't really necessarily start with social media. Also, people are assholes on social medias. People don't like, yeah, man, like it's hard being a beginner, and people aren't nice on the internet. I'm sorry, but like, people are dicks and they're not nice to beginners. And like, yo, everyone started somewhere. Everyone started somewhere. You know, so I think that that is important. Kind of just start with someone you love, start with someone you trust. Get them to listen to it. You know,
I was gonna say, maybe try to have a thick skin, you know.
You
be ready for that.
Yeah, you can't survive as an artist or a musician if you don't have thick skin. You're just not gonna. You literally, you have to be able to take it. You have to be able to take hearing people say, this sounds like fucking shit. You have to be able to say, like, dude, did you hear that fucking dude? That shit's garbage. You know, like, you have to be able to hear that. You have to. Because everyone's got an opinion about everything. And there's no song, there's no music, there's no artist that everyone likes. Like, me personally, I've met, like, you know, you might not, I have no idea if you like the Beatles, but like, for instance, but every so often I meet like a couple people who don't. And for me, it's like, but it's like, I get it, because not everyone likes everything.
I feel like those people say it to be edgy. You know what I mean? It's like they say it because it's shocking. You're like, oh my God, you don't like the Beatles? It's like, okay, well, if you don't like the sound of the Beatles, sure, I get it. But you got to know that without the Beatles, there's no Black Sabbath. Without, you know what I mean? Whatever music you like, it exists because of the Beatles.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
That's my
100%. But you know, you see what I'm saying, right? Like, there's not everything. Even there, like those edgy people, right? They're gonna talk shit.
Yeah.
They're like, everyone's got an opinion, and if you don't have thick skin, like, you're fucked, man. You're just not gonna make it. I mean, or you're not gonna be able to do it, because you're gonna share it with a couple people, and every time they say something, you have to just take it. You have to take it, and you have to take it and apply it to what you do. You have to take it, and you have to say, instead of saying, well, fuck this person, you know, this person doesn't know what they're talking about. Actually, they might, you know, they might take a listen to it, not tomorrow, not today. Take a listen to it in like a couple weeks, and you might hear it too.
Yeah.
You know, or maybe fuck that person. It depends, but you know, reach out, start small. If you're looking for plays, if you're trying to get people, they're not necessarily looking for plays, because it's different than getting people to listen to your music. That is a really key. That's a good question, because it's listening. Like, you don't want plays, you want listens. You know, start small. Start with people you trust. Talk to them.
Dude, that's another thing. Is I see this a lot in like newer artists where they just kind of spam you with new songs all the time. And it's like, you know, maybe you'll look at the first one, and then after that, it's like, Jesus, dude, like, chill out. You're spamming my phone, you know. And
that's another thing.
You're not having a conversation with me. You're just spamming me with, you know, look at me.
Right. So that's, you know, that is know your audience too.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people are just not going to want to hear that. You and me too. Like
Yeah.
I'm not interested in the spam sort of
Yeah.
situation. You know, it is a bad, you know, some marketers will tell you like the opposite of what I'm saying, where they're just like, just tell
Yeah.
everyone, just tell
Yeah,
everyone.
yeah, yeah.
Personally, I don't know. I'm not of the sort of person who wants to like annoy a bunch of people.
I think that can be damaging to the community that you're trying to build.
Me too. Me too.
So,
100%. They'll see it
yeah,
and they'll be like, this isn't fucking real. This isn't the person I was following before. This is
yeah,
someone who was literally just trying to like gain things. Because
yeah,
like, I don't know, like, yes, basically when I say like, oh, we're trying to make money, it's like, yeah, we're trying to make a living just like anyone else. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Right.
yeah,
Like, you know, so yeah. So when artists want to make money, everyone hears this term. They're like, oh, they're selling out. They're selling out. It's like, no, they're fucking, they're trying to make the money that they deserve.
yeah,
They work their asses off. They spend so much money on equipment. People don't realize the software, the software
yeah,
costs thousands of dollars. If you want to
yeah,
get plugins, a couple more hundred. If you want to get a
yeah,
guitar, a couple thousand amps,
yeah,
a couple thousand synths, a couple thousand. These are not cheap. This is not a hobby. This is not a
yeah,
fucking hobby. It's
yeah,
work. And people, you don't, instead of going home from your 9 to 5 and fucking sitting on a couch and throwing on some fucking news. No, artists are different. Artists go home from busting their ass, serving people, going home and fucking working until like
yeah,
3 or 4 in the morning. They're
yeah,
polishing their craft. They're working. They're not
yeah,
sitting in front of a fucking TV. I'm
yeah,
sorry, but like that is my
yeah,
whole thing. Like
absolutely.
artists and musicians, I'm just saying, work
Yeah,
harder. Work harder than everyone else and make
yeah,
so much less money. And
yeah,
anytime like, you know, they're trying to make money off of it, they're selling out. Honestly, like
yeah,
fuck anyone who says that. They have
yep,
no idea. They have no
yeah,
idea what it's like, and they have no support. They have no love for people. They have no love for fucking art. I'm just like, that is my
yeah,
negative, my terrible, honest rant. But fuck
yeah,
those people, because
yep,
honestly, like I say, it is really hard to be an artist, and it is really hard to get what you deserve, which is money. Which
yeah,
musicians, indie artists like Diamond Machine, who's making chiptune music, he deserves to make a living off of it because of the amount of money, or honestly, the amount of money that he spent, probably, I assume,
yeah,
on his craft, and
yeah,
the amount of work
yeah,
and the amount of joy that he's put into people.
yeah,
You
definitely.
know, it's crazy to me that like anytime you try to like fucking talk to someone about this stuff, they don't get it. It's just so frustrating to
Yeah.
me.
Oh, dude,
It's a totally different rant.
no,
But yeah.
dude, you're preaching to the choir over here, man.
Oh, I know
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah,
I know. I'm not lecturing you, that's for sure. You
yeah,
know everything I'm saying, man.
yeah,
It's a wild industry. Like, it is bullshit. You
yeah,
know, people
yeah,
don't pay what they should. They don't support the arts like they should. Like, they
yeah,
will spend gladly $5-6 on a coffee at Starbucks, but they will find a reason not to spend $1 on a song that their friend put sweat and blood into. People,
seriously,
people,
yeah,
people, people are shitty. People are shitty. I'm sorry, but people are shitty. And that's why it's important to build a community around just other random people who are actually supportive and
mm,
cool. You
yeah,
know,
man,
like if you're trying to do
yeah,
something different, if you're
yeah,
trying
no,
to, yeah, if you're
very
just
well
trying to,
said.
if you're just trying to sell records and make money, but you don't care about the music and the art that you make in particular, sure, go to a record label, like a major record label. But you can't care about the music that you make, because that music is not going to last. You're going to be
Mm,
making their music.
yeah, yeah, they own you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying, the 50-50. It's literally
yeah,
all money you make off you, they deserve 50% of it.
yeah,
No
yeah,
matter what. That's crazy to me. And they control it. They tell, like, they'll say, this is what you're doing. You know? You're not you anymore.
yeah,
But if you want to make art and you want to be a musician, you have to accept the fact that the world is not nice. You have to accept the fact that the world has skewed values. And if you really, really, really want to make a ton of money, you have to put in a lot of work, and you have to think huge, like
yeah,
big, like interactive art displays, things like that I'm talking about. Blow people's
yeah,
minds with something different. Otherwise, that's it. Like, you're battling Starbucks is what you're battling.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're battling sheep in Starbucks. That's my jaded ass honest opinion about music. But make it, love it, do it. Like, I'm not saying don't. Like, as you know, I do this shit. I do it every day. I've just accepted that I'm not gonna make a ton of money off.
Well, and as you said before, it's a calling. I mean, I think it's not something that you choose. It chooses you. You know, you don't have a choice. You have this fire in your heart to do it, and you have to do it.
Yeah. Exactly, man. Like, honestly, I think there's so much value in making music, and for me, it serves so many purposes. It serves as self-expression. It serves as therapy. It serves as just a release a lot of the time when I honestly don't know what to do, when I find myself stressed, sad, angry. If I just need things to say, I put them on pen, or I put it in music, and I don't release that stuff necessarily. Like, you know, you might, obviously, like I said, like, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't deserve to collect digital dust, but as every artist and every listener probably knows, like, some stuff is meant to be private, right? And that's totally okay. Make your art, make your music. If you want to make music, it's probably a calling. And if you have stuff that's speaking to you, it's probably a calling. But don't expect a world that doesn't value the right stuff to pay for your calling. Like, it sucks. It sucks. I know. Like, no one wants to hear it. You're just artists probably won't make money ever being their true selves, because they're battling a mentality of people who value a $5 Starbucks coffee daily, by the way. Like, it's what, $25 Monday through Friday. And these people won't spend $1 on their friends. They'll put a lot of work into it. That's what you're battling.
They don't look at it that way. They don't.
No, I know. Well, of course, but that's my point.
That's the problem.
Right. You can't convince someone that that's wrong when they don't even see it. So it is what it is. I'm not saying buying Starbucks coffee is wrong. I mean, I am saying that when you try to have a conversation with someone about, like, well, hey, can you buy my song? They won't. 9 out of 10 people won't. They won't. That's just, and people have to accept that. We as artists have to accept that there's nothing we can do to change anyone's mind about that. They're gonna keep doing that. They're gonna keep buying coffee. There's nothing we can do about it. There's all of this frustration I have. Like, I try to accept it, man. I try to accept it. It's pitch me.
I think this is going to be a reality check for some people. So I think they need to hear it. You know.
Look, if they want to hear it, they've now heard it.
All right, last question, dude. This is the last one from the internet. When you are looking for new artists to work with, what are some of the most common red flags you come across that make you second guess working with them?
Fucking great question. That's a great question. Okay, number one is probably the, like, age-old classic of, like, when they say, like, when you're trying to, like, find a job, right? Like, it's a good idea to, like, have a good image of yourself on the internet. It's important. So if people haven't already put a little effort into their social media, usually, like, if they don't have, like, a basic Twitter, a basic Facebook, well, it doesn't have to be a Facebook, like we were talking about before. I would say if they haven't put a little effort into developing some sort of community or fans or friends, whatever you want to label them. I like the word community because I think that's really, you want to start a relationship with your fans and your friends, in my opinion. When you haven't even begun that process, you're not ready you're just not. So that being, I guess that's not necessarily a red flag, but I'm just like, I mean, if I can't find you, then I'm not going to talk to you. But red flags would be not emailing me back. I'm, like, big
I
on
hate
email.
that.
I'm timely. I'm prompt.
Yeah.
I'm like I have a lot of things going on, and I email people back.
Yeah.
If like, you don't have to like in the next hour, but if I don't go, if like 72 hours goes by and like our first like month of exchanges or whatever, then like
Yeah. It's not worth your time.
yeah, I can't. I literally can't. I can't be trying to count on someone and hunting someone down when it's be like, yo, it's like we're gonna be releasing the album like in like 48 hours. Like, are we good to go? Is like the album art online? Is the stuff properly scheduled? Are the banners in place? Like, if I can't count on that, then I will know based on a 72-hour window. So be a professional. Respond. Don't type like a child. Don't use ChatGPT. I'm a fucking writer and I will see it. Anyone who knows how to write can see ChatGPT. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. It's so obvious. So don't even try it with me.
Okay.
I do encourage ChatGPT hugely, as you know, in a million other ways, but not for communication. Don't have a bot talk to me. Don't have a bot. I would rather lowercase.
That's hilarious. I wouldn't have even considered doing that.
But you would be surprised. It's an easy solution, right? And I get that. Like for me, I use it for social media posts, and I'm still editing these things. But don't like for contacting someone, for contacting me, anyone who knows how to write can see through it like that. It's just so obvious. So don't try to pull that shit. In communication, be human. You can use and do use ChatGPT for all sorts of other things, but just like don't try to talk to me through it. What I would also say for red flags is kind of like, if you are, let's say you are looking them up, right? Like you kind of like this artist has contacted me, and they do give me like their social media, like their YouTube, things like that. Like you can kind of like start digging through the content. Tacky. I don't like tacky. There's certain, like, if I'm looking at their Twitter and there's just like spammy posts, cheesy flyers, there's just these annoying fucking posts that are happening every 10 minutes or every 10 hours. I don't fucking know, but like if their stuff looks tacky, it's spammy, if like when I'm looking into them, like it's just not my necessary cup of tea. Again, like I think there have been people also who like talk to me and communicate with me to like trying to like make money. And like I said, like I get that, but as I've been talking to you about this industry, like Noodlebake itself, we don't even have much of a budget. Like we are a toolkit. We provide a toolkit and some services, but that's it. And so don't email me and be like, hey, do you have like $20,000 for me to make an album? Because the answer is no. The answer is come to me when you have an album that you're really proud of, and email me once you have a social media, one page. I don't fucking care. One page, whether it's Twitter, YouTube, whatever, with some effort put into that and a product, then talk to me. But don't come send an email, say, hey, I have this demo, I'm looking for like a couple grand to finish it. Like it might not be a red flag to like real labels, right? Like real, whatever, bigger labels that have money, but it is to me. It is like if you're looking for, if you want to be on Noodlebake, awesome. Be different, be yourself, be honest, think big. Just, it needs to be different. Don't give me some bullshit and no hate and no mechanical communications, and don't be tacky. But otherwise, I'm totally down to talk. Like I'm pretty down to just have a conversation with people, as you know. But yeah, I don't know, like those I guess would be the big red flags. For me in Noodlebake
Yeah.
Records,
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like what you're saying too is like you're just looking for someone who's really genuine,
Yeah.
who really
Yeah.
obviously has a passion for what they're
Yeah.
doing, and is out there hustling already.
Yeah, exactly. That's who I can work with, is someone who has already a drive, who's like just beginning. I can maybe give them a little boost and get them set sailing, right? Like that's what Noodlebake is. It's a service for people who make really, really unique, true shit. Right now, if you give me 1 second, I'm actually gonna go to the Four Finger Distro Twitter, because I think that's where they're. Yeah, so this is what I want to read to you. So like Four Finger Distro is the label that we are a sub label of, and their Twitter description sums up, I would also say, Noodlebake big time, right? Worldwide distribution for community-based artists to amplify marginalized voices, create equitable opportunities, and build community through mutual love of music. I will say that one more time. Four Finger Distro, which is Noodlebake is part of Four Finger Distro, so thus Noodlebake. We are, worldwide distribution for community-based artists to amplify marginalized voices, create equitable opportunities, and build community through mutual love of music. This is not some sort of, that is huge. Like we're community, we're different. People who don't have a voice. There's LGBTQ artists on the label. Things like it's just, just try to keep it different, authentic. Everyone's welcome, as long as you're not an asshole.
Right on. Well, hey man, that being said, how can people reach you? What's a good way, if somebody's interested?
Honestly, I would say the most active I am is to get started with the conversation would be to contact us through our Twitter would probably be a good idea. That's the one I check the most. We have an Instagram, we have a Facebook, but it's all the same. It's at Noodlebake Music. Pretty easy to remember. So check that out if you want, and you can send us a message on there, and I'm pretty good about responding, and I'd love to talk. I love having conversations with people, and as long as you do something different, something cool, something true to yourself, non-hateful, let's chat. Like let's chat. Like I might be able to help in some way.
Awesome.
I might be able to help. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I mean, I really hope that this episode help some people out, and I think it will. I mean, if I was just starting out, I would love to hear all of this stuff. I mean, there were some nuggets of gold in there.
A lot of really negative nuggets of gold, and I'm sorry to hear that.
It's the truth, man. It's a tough world, and you gotta have a thick skin, and people like us appreciate genuine artists doing their thing, and
at this point,
and there is a community out there for it. So I mean, there is a glimmer of hope there.
Yeah, exactly. There's proof that it is one of the things that's very satisfying. Just the final note is like, as negative as all of this stuff is, it's still very fun. We still have created a community who supports us, who does if there's a payback, right? More than we would get without, extra distribution, extra love, whatever it might be. These communities are still totally possible with anyone's music. That's one thing that I really think is important for people to leave this with, is like, no matter how different your music is, whether or not it's going to necessarily make a ton of money, like you say, it's good to know going in, like, if it's a labor of love, if it's passion that drives you, and you're going to be your truest self, work your ass off, and or accept that it's a cold world, and other jobs are going to be necessary for people like us.
Yeah. Well, Dude, I'd love to have you back here again.
Sure.
I would say to the people watching, please make sure you like and subscribe. Help me grow the channel. If you have any other comments, or if you have any other questions, rather, leave them in the comments, and maybe we can answer them next time. Or if it's something easy, I might just comment back or whatever.
Absolutely. Yeah,
But
thanks for having me.
yeah, thanks, man. This has been
Yeah.
awesome, and we'll see you guys next time. All right, peace.
Peace.